You may remember a few weeks ago, it seemed as though this guy here, Ryad Merhy, was going to fight Daniel Dubois for the EBU heavyweight title. But Boxing Scene on our reporting that he'll actually be fighting Jared Anderson on April 13 in America. So big change here. Obviously, this will not be for the EBU heavyweight title because Jared Anderson is an American. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Ryad Merhy, and I'm sure I'm butchering his name here, his best win was against Tony Yoka. That was his last bout. Some people might scoff at that win and say Tony Yoka's not very good. Well, Ryad Merhy isn't exactly an elite fighter himself. So for a fighter of his level, that's a good win. He's 31 years of age, based in Belgium, originally from the Ivory Coast. He's actually a career cruiserweight. He only stepped up to heavyweight. When was it? In 2022. That was his first fight at heavyweight. So he's definitely a small heavyweight. He challenged for the world title when he was a cruiserweight back in 2018 against Arsene Goulamirian for the WBA cruiserweight strap, lost that via 11-round TKO. So, and he also lost, forgot to mention this, at heavyweight back in 2023 against Kevin Lorena by UD. So this is not an amazing fighter here that Jared Anderson will be taking on. Therefore, many people will be disappointed by this choice of opponent for Jared Anderson. Now, Jared Anderson's been having some problems. And in the run-up to his fight with Charles Martin, there was some interviews and there was some pre-fight shoulder programming, as they call it, where I saw some disturbing things from Jared Anderson. He seemed to be mentally and emotionally kind of unstable, breaking out in tears at various moments during the interviews and what have you, and in these programs. Now, look, he's a human being, humans cry. It's not such a massive big deal. But when taken in context with all the other things that I've seen of Jared Anderson, I mean, even after the fight with Charles Martin, he was crying in the dressing room in his mum's arms, literally like a big baby, right? That's his moniker, the big baby. He was like a big baby in his mum's arms crying. And I'm thinking, you just won the fight. What are you crying for? I don't get it. It was a tougher than expected fight, but he still won. Somehow he's crying in his mum's arms. So he seems to be an emotionally unstable kind of character, Jared Anderson. And he was involved in some, I don't even want to mention what happened, but some issues outside of the ring, okay, with law enforcement and what have you. And you wonder where he's at. You wonder whether he's okay. Another thing I forgot to mention is that in the run-up to that Charles Martin fight, he was talking about how he wants to retire by, I think, the age of 27. And he says he's very serious about it. It's not a gimmick or anything like that. Now, of course, just because he says it's not a gimmick, just because he says it's not serious, it doesn't mean, just because he says it's serious, it doesn't mean that it actually is, right? But, again, taking everything in context, it's an eyebrow raiser when Jared Anderson's coming up with this kind of stuff. Coming out with this kind of stuff, should I say. So I'm not sure where he's at mentally, and I think that the quality of opponent they've picked for him here is a reflection of the fact that he's maybe having some issues with his mind state at the moment. So that's that. Ryad Merhy, according to Boxing Scene, will fight Jared Anderson on April 13, and they say this fight will be in Texas, in Corpus Christi. This was reported by Mike Coppinger of ESPN. It's not yet listed on BoxRec, but BoxRec don't always list things immediately when they are rumored or even right away after being announced. It can sometimes take a while for them to put it on there. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Jared Anderson taking on Ryad Merhy. Do you think it's an acceptable fight? Do you think that it's a necessary fight? Because so many people were disappointed by Jared Anderson's performance against Charles Martin, and they felt like he probably needed a step down after the Charles Martin fight because he wasn't ready, because he had technical issues that needed to be sorted out, such as planting his feet and leaning away from punches. That's only going to work if you're much taller than your opponent. If you're fighting an opponent who's taller than you and you're planting your feet, and when he's throwing punches at you, you're just leaning your upper body back, that's a recipe for disaster. Okay? And that's what he was doing against Charles Martin. You need to get your feet out of the way when you're fighting a guy who's taller than you or even as tall as you, as quick as you, etc. Move your feet. Don't just lean your upper body back. So because of the mistakes he made in the Charles Martin fight and was hurt on numerous occasions, many people thought that he needed to step down and slow down before eventually fighting, any of the top guys in the heavyweight division. His next bout was against Rudenko. He took care of Rudenko, no problem. Rudenko's always been tough, but Rudenko didn't have the offensive capabilities to really give Jared Anderson any issues. And he managed to stop Rudenko in 5 rounds. I think that was the second time Rudenko's been stopped. He was also stopped. Second time. So he was stopped in 6 rounds by, Serenko? That was prior to fighting Jared Anderson, a couple fights prior. Then he fought Anderson. He was stopped in 5 quicker. So, yeah, that's that. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section below. Jared Anderson taking on Ryad Merhy.